In the primordial epoch, after the first great tragedy, the stain of fratricide, the world was cleaved. Two distinct destinies were set in motion, defined by geography and spirit. The high ground, the mountains, became the sanctuary of the righteous. Cain, the banished, took his kin and descended into the valley. He sought to build a world defined by his own will, a civilization rooted in the earth and its material pursuits. His tribe, numerous and restless, turned their backs on the solemnity of the hills. Adam, the first man, remained in the mountains, his heart heavy with the grief of loss. He mourned Abel, the son who had embodied piety and submission. His sorrow was a profound prayer, a yearning for the light to return to his lineage. And from that prayer, a divine gift was granted. Seth was born, the gift of God, a replacement for the lost light. His name itself was a promise, a renewal of the covenant. His lineage was tasked with preserving the pure faith, a beacon against the encroaching darkness. The world was now a stage for a silent spiritual war, the lineage of light, in the mountains, dedicated to the unseen, and the lineage of shadow, in the valley, consumed by the material. The separation was not merely geographical, it was a schism of the soul. As generations passed, the valley tribe, numerous and prosperous, became spiritually impoverished. They rejected the moral framework of their ancestor Adam, their lives a testament to self-gratification and worldly excess. The stage was set for the ultimate temptation. Satan, the master manipulator, waited for the opportune moment, the passing of the first generation. He did not arrive as a monster, but as a subtle, persuasive craftsman. He sought employment, a quiet entry point into the heart of their society. His gift was the instrument of distraction, music. He carved the first flute, not as an act of creation, but as a weapon of spiritual warfare. The sound was not merely entertainment, it was a rhythmic, intoxicating force designed to dull the conscience and replace contemplation with sensation. The valley exploded in a celebration of the flesh. The music became a roar, a cacophony of revelry that shattered the silence of the night. This was the first great party, a pagan ritual of self-worship, loud enough to carry its corrupting influence to the very borders of the righteous. In the mountains, the sound was an alien intrusion. The people of Seth, educated in morality and quiet devotion, felt a deep, spiritual discomfort. Yet, the young among them, shielded from temptation, were consumed by a fatal curiosity. What was this strange, loud joy? They spied the valley's secret. They saw the women of Cain's tribe, vibrant, adorned, and beautiful, a beauty that was both a gift and a snare. The contrast was stark. The women of the valley possessed the beauty of the world, while the men of the mountain possessed the beauty of the spirit. The sight was a spiritual poison. The senses, long disciplined, were overwhelmed by the spectacle of unbridled passion. The young men returned to the hills, not with warnings, but with tales of intoxicating allure. The moral barrier, once absolute, began to crumble under the weight of desire. The fatal mingling began. The handsome men of the mountain were drawn to the beautiful women of the valley. The union was not one of covenant, but of compromise. The pure bloodline, meant to preserve the faith, was deliberately corrupted by lust. This was the first great moral fall of the new generation, the sin of adultery. The tragic consequence of mixing the righteous with the corrupt. The pre-flood world was now irrevocably stained, setting the stage for the coming judgment. Yet, the flame of truth persisted. Through the lineage of Seth, the sacred knowledge was passed down, a chain of light against the encroaching darkness. From Enosh to Canaan, the righteous kings held the line, their lives a continuous act of devotion. Then came Mahalalel, a figure of immense power and spiritual authority. He was known in some traditions as the king who ruled the 7 climates, the first to fell a tree for construction, and the founder of the land that would become Babylon. His reign was marked by a decisive confrontation. Mahalalel gathered his forces for a holy war, not against man, but against the source of all corruption, Satan and his armies. In a legendary battle, the forces of light drove the demonic hordes from the settled lands, scattering them into the desolate mountains and deserts. The wisdom then passed to Enoch, or Idris, the first to use the pen and granted extraordinary, prophetic knowledge. He saw the full, terrifying trajectory of the valley's evil. He called his people to a final, spiritual separation, a holy war of the soul to eradicate the spreading corruption. Even after Enoch's mysterious ascension, his teachings were preserved by his most pious descendants, a family known as the Wad family. They were the final, shining examples of goodness, generosity, and devotion in a world teetering on the brink of total darkness. The adversary is patient. He does not rush the fall, but orchestrates it across generations. When the pious Wad and his family passed away, Satan returned, disguised as a grieving, wise man, a figure of authority and sympathy. His suggestion was insidious in its simplicity: do you not miss their presence? Create statues in their likeness. Let them be a visual aid, a reminder of their devotion, inspiring you to greater worship. The statues of Wad, Suwa, Yagus, and Nasr were erected on a high, sacred ground. They were intended as monuments to piety, not objects of worship. The first generation, whose intentions were pure, passed away. The second generation arrived, knowing the statues only as sacred objects. Satan returned, refining his deception. Why travel so far? Place them in your homes. Let every posture, bowing, prostrating, giving alms, stimulate your worship in your daily life. The third generation came, knowing nothing of the original intent, only the ritual. The false pious man delivered the final, devastating lie: your fathers and grandfathers worshipped these statues to draw closer to God. This is the true path. The worship of the righteous had become the worship of the idol. The first polytheism was born. The statues of pious men were transformed into the images of animals: Wad as a man, Suwa as a horse, Yagus as a tiger, and Nasr as birds, and worshipped everywhere. The seed of corruption had blossomed into full-blown idolatry. The line of light had been compromised. The spiritual war was lost. The world was full of violence and sin. The stage was set for the great judgment, the final, terrifying consequence of humanity's fall.